Hey guys, we're just going to walk through how to build a breadboard real quick. This is the ground rail, this is the 18 volt rail, and this is our 5 volt rail. The reason we need different rails is because the motor needs 18 volts and the servos can only take up to 5. So we're just going to have the board in this orientation and to plug the transistors in with a flat side facing us. Feel free to pause the video and do it as I am doing it at the same time. You'll notice that the transistors overlap one of their rails. This is just to save wires. Okay. Don't know if you guys can see that, but this middle pin is shared, and that's where we're going to plug our motor. So we're going to plug one side of our motor in here, one side of our motor in here. Okay. Now, next thing we're going to do is hook up the wires for the H bridge. We're going to do this in a crisscross pattern, and the reason we don't need any resistors is because MOSFETs actually don't conduct any current through, and so if there's no current, there's no need for a resistor, or almost no current anyways. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see that, how they're hooked up and they cross each other. Okay, so now we have to connect the two sides of our rails together because, as you guys can see, they're not connected. I'm just going to pull out the old wires just to make it more clear. Okay, so we're going to have to hook up our two ground sides together. So one wire over here and one on the other side. And then same with the positive 18 volts. We're just going to put one here and one in here. Okay. Now we have to hook up a few more things, including this voltage regulator. This is what's going to step our voltage down. And make sure it's facing in the right direction. We're just going to plug it in like that. Okay. Now, the voltage regulator needs a reference, and so that reference is going to come from that middle pin. So we plug that into our ground. Anywhere along the ground rail is fine, because as you remember, they're connected to each other. Now we're going to hook up our signals to the Arduino. If you remember, the gate pins on the MOSFETs are connected. And so you can actually just tap off of them by going here for one of the pins and here for the other. See that right there? Okay. Now, because these are crossed, they're all connected, all the gates are connected in pairs now. That's all nice and good. Alright. Now, I think that's it for our H bridge. Okay, the motor wires are going to come from here, one here, okay, and one from right between our gates, right there, okay. Looks good. Now, we're going to power our servo, the red wire from the servo, here. See, there's 3 different colors. The red one, we're going to connect a little pin to it, okay, and then plug this into the positive 5 volts. Okay, and we're going to connect the black one to our ground. That makes sense. Alright, now we get to start playing with the Arduino. Let's see. First thing we're going to do is we're going to get a common ground on our Arduino. And we're going to do that by finding the ground pin, any one of the ground pins, and they're labeled, and then plugging that into ground. We don't need these wires anymore, so I'm just going to pull them out to make it easier to read. Okay, next thing we have to do is get power to the Arduino, right? Because otherwise it wouldn't be very fun. We're going to do that by finding the VIN on the Arduino, which is right next to the ground, and then plugging that into positive 18. And the reason I'm plugging into positive 18 rather than positive 5 is because I've noticed that the Arduino tends to reset if the voltage ever goes a little bit too low. That actually may be the problem with the servo's twitching. The voltage might be too low and the servo decides to reset itself. No big deal. Alright, so we have those pins coming from the H bridge, which I probably shouldn't have removed. Okay. And then these pins are going to come off onto pin 13 and pin 12. Oopsies, this isn't the right wire. Okay, now we're going to hook our servo wire. Oopsies, it's all tangled. Okay, the yellow one, or the orange one from your servo, will go to pin number 9. Okay. And one more last thing is to connect our button. You may actually want to do this after you've assembled everything, because the layout gets a little bit messy. So what you're going to do is you're going to connect the button, which is this thing, or we're going to use it as a touch sensor. So as soon as the stick butt crashes into something, it'll detect that. We're going to connect this from ground on one side, any one of the open ground rails, to pin number 0. Okay? And I think that should be it.